It's going to be a fun Friday flow. We're just going to get in and out, half-hour workout. So just get ready on your mats, have your water nearby, and let's get into it. All right, let's start seated. Kneel on your knees and just sit your hips down on your heels. If you can't get your hips on your heels, you can stay lifted. You can stay kneeling like this. Alternatively, if you have a block or a blanket or a book and you want to put that in between your shins and sit down on that, that's an option too. So whatever option feels good for you. I'm going to start kneeling with my hips low, and Patrice will be kneeling with his hips high. Wrap your hands behind your back. Clasp all 10 fingers together. Release the hands so they come down towards the floor as you lower those shoulder blades down. Open your heart. Look up at the ceiling. Find this little back bend here, extending our spines. Just breathe into this shape and stay for a moment. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale. Exhale, come to neutral. Now we're going to bow forward over our knees, bringing our head to the mat. If you're kneeling like Patrice, try to bring your hips down as you do this. So you're coming into child's pose. As you bring your clasped hands up overhead, stretching out the shoulders, really trying to reach those hands together towards the front of the room as they come up and over behind you. If you're kneeling like Patrice, it might feel more accessible to you if you open your knees a little wider. Then you'll be able to get your hips down lower and bring your head closer to the floor. Breathe into this child's pose, shoulder stretch. Even if you are totally on your shins and it feels good to open your knees here, please do so. Always modify it for your body. My cues are just suggestions. Take another breath here. On your next inhale, lift your torso up. Arms come back down behind you. Find neutral. Then inhale and puff your heart up. Look up. Release your hands a little lower to the mat behind you, but keeping them clasped together. Find that back bend and breathe. On your next exhale, bow forward into child's pose, opening your knees if you need to, bringing the forehead close to the mat, arms come up overhead with the hands clasped together. On your next inhale, lift your torso up. Clasp hands, come down behind you, lift your heart, gaze up. Find the back bend. And one more time, exhale as you bow forward, finding whatever shape you need to with your legs so that you can find this child's pose and lift those arms up overhead, stretching through the shoulders, getting broad through the front of our chest. And come to neutral. Release your hands. Walk the hands out in front of you. And then open your knees up, hips width distance. So now we're in tabletop. Shoulders are over wrists and hips are over knees. Inhale as you drop your belly, lift your gaze, lift your hips for cow pose. Finding that curve towards the mat. Exhale as you round the other way, curving that spine up towards the ceiling, tucking your chin. Inhale, let's go back to cow. Find that back bend, releasing that tummy towards the mat. Exhale for cat as you pull the tummy in and round the spine towards the ceiling. Inhale for cow. Exhale, cat pose. Inhale for cow, dropping the tummy down, finding that extension. Exhale, rounding that spine up towards the ceiling, finding cat. Then find neutral. Start to walk your hands out in front of you on the mat. Walk them pretty far forward, but keep your hips where they are. So when you can't reach your hands forward anymore without dropping your elbows, do so. Drop your elbows. And then see if you can reach a little further forward and bring your forehead to the mat to find puppy pose. So hips are still lifted. They're just where they were in tabletop. Hips are stacked over the knees. Breathe into your puppy pose. Just warming up our spines, warming up our bodies. Let that breath flow easily, deep inhales and exhales through your nose for the whole practice. And then slightly push your head into the mat just so you can lift your elbows up off the mat a little bit. Now push your hands into the mat to lift your head up and start to lift your hips up and forward, giving yourself a cat back spine, rounding forward, and then bring the elbows back down to the mat as your hips lower down. Find Sphinx pose. A gentle back bend here. Forearms press the mat away. Make sure your shoulders are over your elbows here. Just gaze forward. The spine is one long extended line, so it's one long curve. So don't yank your neck back here. Just have your neck as a continuation of the spinal extension that's going on here. Take another breath. On your next inhale, lift your elbows up. Push the mat away. Elbows are lifted, but you're still in this extended spine shape. Maybe walk the hands back towards your body a little bit to find a lot of length here. It's like up dog, but your hands are more out in front of you and you're really long through the spine here. Only go as far as it feels good for you and just breathe into it. Try to relax your shoulders here. So if you're hunching your shoulders up next to your ears, walk your hands back out a little bit and find a gentler variation. Good. Now lower your elbows down to the mat and then lower your head down to the mat. Bring your hands beside your chest. Fingertips are under your shoulders. Push the mat away as you come up to tabletop. Then walk your hands back in front of your knees. Keep your thighs lifted here. So you're kneeling on your shins. Your hips are lifted. They're not down this time. Bring your hands behind your back. Clasp all 10 fingers together. Inhale as you open your heart. Look up. Slight reach down with those clasped hands. Keep breathing. Take another inhale here. And then exhale as you sit your hips down. Open your knees wide and lower your head down to child's pose, extending the clasped hands overhead towards the front of the room. Good. Inhale as you push the mat away with your knees. Lift your hips up and lower your arms behind you. Find that kneeling position again where we're in neutral. All right. Open the heart. Lift the gaze. Slight back bend. Slightly lowering those hands behind you, but keep the hips shifting forward. You're not falling backward into this. You're lifted. Take another breath. And then exhale as you open the knees, sit the hips down, lower the head, and raise those clasped hands up, overhead behind you towards the front of the room, finding the shoulder stretch. Good. Start to push your shins and knees into the mat as you lift your hips up, lift your torso, come back to kneeling, arms drop behind you, hands are still together. One more time. Make sure your knees are pointing forward this time, and so are your feet. Hips with distance between them. Open your heart, gaze up. Slightly pull those hands down behind you. It's not dramatic here. It's slight movements just to feel the extension in our spine, but to stay lifted. Keep breathing in the shape. Take another breath. And on your exhale, open your knees wide, sit the hips back and down, lower the head to the mat as you raise your clasped hands up overhead towards the front of the room, finding child's pose with a stretch through your shoulders. On your next exhale, release your hands by your sides and walk them forward, lifting your hips up, coming back through tabletop. Inhale, as you drop your belly, lift your gaze for cow. Exhale, really round that spine, pull it up towards the ceiling for cat, tucking your chin in. Inhale, find cow, drop the belly, lift the gaze in the hips. Exhale for cat, round the spine up, pull that tummy in and tuck your chin. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat pose. Find neutral. Tuck your toes under. Push the mat away with your hands so you can lift your kneecaps up. And then send your hips up and back, down dog. This is our first dog, so feet can be pretty wide. Maybe keep a bend in your knees. Really work on getting the tailbone up. So with those knees bent, you're going to have a better angle to really tilt that tailbone up and back, finding the extension in your spine. And when you found that, maybe you can then start walking out your dog, bending one knee at a time and straightening the alternate leg. So just getting these hamstring stretches through our legs. While you're here, make sure you're letting that head go. You're not holding tension in your neck. Maybe you need to nod yes or no a few times, or just find what works for you to let it go. Put your awareness there so you can think about it and let go. Really push all 10 fingers into the mat. Patrice, it might help if you slightly externally rotate your hands a little bit. Turn the pinkies a little more outward. See if that works for you. All right, now bend both of your knees. Really make sure that tailbone is up high. So you're extending the spine, push the butt up. Then start to straighten the legs a little bit more, trying to bring those heels a little closer to the mat. Breathe into the stretch. Good. Inhale as you shift your weight forward, bringing your shoulders over the wrists. Hold high plank. Lower your knees if you wish, and on your next exhale, halfway lower, chaturanga, keeping those elbows in. Hold it, and then lower all the way to the mat. Keeping your hands by your chest, lower your head down, untuck your toes. On your next inhale, lift your head, your heart, your shoulders. Come into cobra. Push the tops of the feet into the mat to lift your kneecaps up. Exhale, lower down to the mat. Good, let's do that again. Inhale, lift your head, your heart, your shoulders. Push the feet into the mat to lift your kneecaps. And exhale as you lower. One more time. Inhale as you peel up that head, the heart, the shoulders, pushing the tops of the feet into the mat, lifting those kneecaps, maybe come up a little higher, and then lower to the mat. Tuck your toes under. Push your hands firmly into the mat to lift yourself up into plank. You might have to come through tabletop. That's okay. Then shift your hips up and back. Find down dog. Walk the dog again. Bend one knee at a time. Make sure your head is hanging heavy here. Every time we come back to down dog, just check in with your head and your neck. See where it is and what you're feeling there. Try to release any tension. All right, stop walking your dog as you bend the knees a little bit. Lift the tailbone up high and back. Then start to straighten the legs a little longer, keeping that extension in your spine. Inhale, move forward to plank, shoulders over wrists. Hold in your plank. Lower your knees if you wish, and then exhale, chaturanga, lower halfway down. Hold it, and then lower all the way down. Untuck your toes. Inhale as you peel your head, neck, and shoulders up. Push the tops of the feet into the mat. Lift the kneecaps. Cobra. Exhale, return your head to the mat. Inhale, lift your head, your heart, your shoulders. Push those feet. Cobra pose. Exhale, lower. One more time. Inhale, peel the head, the neck, the shoulders up. Lift up, gaze forward. And lower. Tuck your toes under. Push the mat away as you come up through plank or maybe tabletop. And then shift your hips up and back. Down dog. Walk the dog again. Let the head and the neck go. Good. All right. Really bend those knees here. Lift the heels. Look forward. Step, step, step to the top of the mat. feet coming between your hands, forward fold. Breathe in your forward fold. Keep that weight shifted forward into the balls of your feet and grab for opposite elbows. Now keep a micro bend in your knees to really ensure you're using your muscles here and not just your tendons to hold you in place. You're stretching through your hamstrings. Just breathe into it. Maybe sway a little side to side, trying to find a little release. Then release your hands to the mat. Keep that micro bend in your knees. Maybe bend a tiny bit further and start to roll up to standing. Coming from the bottom of your spine to the top. Head is the last thing to lift. Arms come by your sides for Tadasana. Good. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, hinge, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen the spine. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise to stand with a flat back. Arms come overhead. Exhale, arms by your side. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, hinge and fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise to stand. Flat back, arms overhead. Exhale, arms by your side. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, hinge and fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise to stand. Arms come overhead. Keep the arms there. Sit your butts back and down. Chair pose. Put the weight in your heels here. Feet can be together or apart, whatever feels better for you in your chair. Keep the chest lifted, lengthen the tailbone towards the ground, and make sure you're pulling your ribs in, really wrapping them in to feel that engagement in your core. On your next exhale, fold forward. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant your palms, step back to plank. Hold on your inhale, lower your knees if you wish. Exhale, chaturanga, lowering halfway. Inhale, cobra or up dog, your choice. Exhale, hips go up and back, down dog. Breathe, inhale. And exhale. Inhale, lift your right leg up behind you. Exhale as you bend the right knee, bring it to your chest, and then step the right foot next to your right thumb. Spin the back heel onto the mat so the left toes face the top left corner of the mat. Lift your torso up, raise your arms, find warrior one. And breathe. Release your right hand behind you, crossing it over to the left thigh. Then slightly back bend as you lift your left arm up and over. Finding this reverse twisted warrior one. So good. Come back to warrior one, both arms overhead. Exhale as you open up to the left, finding warrior two, arms come to a T. Back foot is now a little more parallel to the back edge of the mat. Look down at your feet, see if you have heel to arch alignment. If not, move that front foot in a little bit. Good. Flip the right palm, lower the left hand onto the left thigh, and lift the right arm up overhead as you reverse your warrior. Find a little back bend here and a side stretch. On your next inhale, come back to warrior two. Straighten your right leg. Shift your hips back a little bit and start to reach forward with your right fingertips. Then release the right hand onto the right shin. Lift the left arm to the sky. Trikonasana, triangle pose. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale as you rise your torso back up to parallel. Arms come to a T. Flip your right palm. Bring it up overhead as you release the left hand to your left thigh. Find your reverse Trikonasana. Legs are still straight here. Find that stretch. Good. Inhale, come back up. Bring your arms to a T. Bend your right leg. Find warrior two. On your next inhale, pivot onto the ball of your left foot, shifting your hips forward. Arms come overhead, crescent pose. Hold it here. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. On your next inhale, I want you to shift your weight forward into that front foot. Pick up your back foot as you step it forward. Keep it lifted. Keep that left foot lifted, a bend in your left knee. Release your arms by your sides. Now reach down with your left hand as you bend the left foot in towards your butt. And then see if you can grab the inside of the left foot with your left hand. Lift your right arm overhead, palm faces the front of the room. Try to keep the knees together here. Now this is going to be a quad stretch where you can just kick your left hand into your left foot into your left hand rather, and find that stretch. So start kicking the left foot into the left hand so the left quad moves back. Now you don't have to move your torso forward at all, but if you find that you've kicked so far that your left foot is coming up overhead, then you can bend your torso forward a little bit more. Try to keep the arm raised, maybe in line with your top of your head or your forehead. If you've come up really high with that back foot, then maybe it comes a little lower with the torso. Find the extension, find your balance. Inhale, come back up to center, release the left foot, release your arms by your sides, find Tadasana. So good. Take a breath. Inhale, lift your arms overhead. Exhale, sit your hips back and down, find chair. Wrap the ribs in, keep the weight in the heels. Just breathe as you lengthen. Take another 2 breaths. On your next exhale, fold forward, straightening those legs, bringing the hands to the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold and plant your hands, then step your feet to the back of the mat for high plank pose. Hold on your inhale, lower your knees if you wish, and exhale, chaturanga, lower halfway. Inhale, cobra or up dog, find the back bend. Exhale, shift the hips up and back, finding down dog. Take a breath. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale as you lift the left leg up behind you. Exhale, bend the left knee and bring it in towards your chest. Then step the left foot on the inside of the left thumb. Release the right heel to the mat so the right toes turn out a little bit. Lift your torso up, raise your arms, find warrior one. On your next exhale, reach behind you with your left hand and bring it to the top of your right thigh. Then lift your right arm up overhead, finding a slight back bend. Inhale as you come back up to warrior one, both arms lift. On your next exhale, open your arms out to a T as you turn your back foot to the right, quarter turn or a little less, finding warrior two. Check down at your feet. Do you have heel to arch alignment? If not, maybe heel toe that left foot in a little bit, making sure that left heel is lined up with the right arch. And breathe. All right, flip your left palm to the sky. Release the right hand onto the right thigh as you lift the left arm up overhead, finding your reverse warrior. Find that stretch and breathe into it. Inhale, come back up to warrior two. Straighten the left leg. Shift the hips back a tiny bit, just kind of tilt them back. Then reach forward with those left fingertips towards the front of the room and release the left fingertips, the left hand onto your shin. Right arm comes to the sky, triangle pose, trikonasana. On your next inhale, lift your torso up, arms come to a T. Flip the left palm, release the right hand down, left arm comes overhead, finding that reverse trikonasana. Breathe into the stretch. All right, lift the torso up, arms come to a T, bend that left knee again. Warrior two. On your next inhale, pivot onto the ball of your right foot so the hips shift forward, arms come overhead, crescent pose. You might have to heel toe that front foot out a little bit to the left, just to give you a little more space here. Take another breath. Inhale as you shift your weight into that left leg. Maybe tilt your torso forward a little bit, and then pick up that right foot, pressing it forward. Keep the right foot lifted. Bend the right knee in towards your body. Now reach down with both of your hands. Try to kick the right foot towards your right butt cheek. Reach down with your right hand and grab the inside of the right foot or the ankle with your right hand. Bring the knees together. Now bring your left arm overhead. Left palm faces the front wall of the room. Inhale. And exhale as you start to kick that right foot into your right hand, stretching that quad back behind you, finding an extension in your spine, a back bend here. Stay wherever is good in your body. It might not be very deep, but don't hinge forward with your torso unless you are propelled to do so because your right leg is lifting so far up behind you that you must move forward. Find something to gaze at, to help you with your balance. On your next inhale, lift your torso back up, release the right knee, then release the right foot. Arms come by your sides, Tadasana. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, hinge and fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Plant your palms, step back to plank. Lower, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra, up dog. Exhale, set your hips down, set your knees down. Send those hips back onto your heels, child's pose. Good. Lift your hips up now as you press away the mat with your hands. And simply turn around, bringing your hips down to the mat, finding a seated position, keeping your knees bent. Roll your back down onto the mat. Knees or hips width distance. Inhale as you start to lift your hips up, coming into bridge. When you come up, you want your knees stacked over your ankles. So that might mean moving the feet back or forward for you. Find what works in your body to find that stacking. Really lift the hips high towards the ceiling. Then release, rolling down to the mat, one vertebra at a time from top to bottom. You can take wheel again here, you could take bridge again here, or you could take wheel. So if you're going to take wheel, arms come overhead and fingertips point towards your shoulders, otherwise take bridge. We come into it the same way, pushing our feet into the mat to lift our hips, using our glutes and our quads to lift us up. Then if you're coming into wheel, push the hands into the mat to lift your shoulders and your head. Breathe into it a couple breaths. And then slowly start to come down from the top of your vertebra to the bottom. Good. Hug the knees into your chest. Give them a squeeze. Open your arms out wide to a T and drape both knees over to the right. Try to keep those shoulders melted onto the mat here. Find your spinal twist. Then come back to center with your knees. Release both knees over to the left. Again, keep that spine long, keep those shoulders melted down. Inhale as you come back to center. Grab the tops of your knees with your hands and just squeeze the knees in, again, finding Apanasana, wind-removing pose. Try to keep your neck and your spine long here. So the spine is grounded. Knees are coming down towards your chest. You might feel a pinch in your hip flexors. Now release your arms by your sides, but lift your feet towards the ceiling. The feet can be flexed or they can be neutral. Viparita Karani, it's legs up the wall. You can do this against the wall. It's really great. It's really nice to feel that blood flow. You might have a deeper sensation of it. It's always flowing, but you might just feel a different and deeper sensation when you have got this inversion going on. Now bring your legs down. Make sure you're in the middle of your mat or towards the top of the mat with your torso so you can extend your legs long on the mat. Open your feet up as wide as the mat and let the feet simply flop open to the sides. And then walk the hands out a little wider than your mat, palms face up. Back body is rooted, grounded down. Close your eyes. Release any structured breathing pattern or any tension you're feeling anywhere. Let it all go. Let it melt away as you find Shavasana here on the mat today. Slowly bring some awareness back into your body. Maybe move those fingers and toes, or just feel your rib cage expand as you breathe. And slowly make your way to a seated position. Make your way there any way you feel like, whether it's rolling to the side and pushing up from fetal pose, or just grabbing behind a knee or two and then rolling up. Keep your eyes closed. Find a comfortable spot. Inhale as you bring your arms overhead. Bring the palms to touch. Then bring them down in front of the third eye, right at that space in between your eyebrows. And then bring those hands in prayer down in front of your heart center. Thank you for practicing with us today. Namaste.